Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online character build with me, Sherman. Today guys, we're going to be taking a look at the Dervish character. And before I get started, a little disclaimer, this is more of a roleplay, casual play character build. This is not an in-game hardcore build. This is just for casual players and role players alike to have something to use in the game to play the game. That's it. Now, this character in general is set up to be a certain race, with a certain class. You can be any race and any class with it. It really depends on how you choose to play it, but you'll get the gist of it when I show you how it's set up. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. As you can see, we are the Dervish character, a Red Guard Warden character. We have 64 points in the stamina. This is going to give you a really decent stamina pool, and we are using Dubious Cameron Throne, so we have 18,000 health, 12,000 magicka with 32,000 max stamina, 1337 stamina recovery, 321 health recovery, 534 magic recovery. And as you can see, our weapon damage is coming in at 2650 with a 42% weapon critical. That is unbuffed. With our power pots, we go up to 3111 weapon damage with a 52% critical. With everything, this character goes up to about 4,000 something weapon damage. And so really powerful character for what you need it to do. Now, as you can see, 14,000 spell resist, 14,000 physical resist, and that's because of the way we have the gear set up. Moving on down here, we do have the Lever Mundus Stone. We do have Dubious Cameron Throne as our food. And taking a look at that stuff, we're going to go over food and drink and potions real quick. So we do have Witch Mother's Potent Brew. This is something that we use for when we want to play a healer or more magicka based. Usually that's a healer for this character. We use Tri-Stat Food for when we're playing a tank. We use Dubious Cameron Throne for when we're playing a stamina DPS. Now you can use Tri-Stat Food even as a stam DPS. This way you can take advantage of more magicka pool for using more magicka abilities based on different situations. Now we do use power pots like spell power pots, weapon power pots, and these are gonna give you different things. So the power pots, stamina power pots, are gonna make you more effective with stamina based stuff. Spell power pots are gonna make you more magicka based, and then the different foods even do the same thing. So Dubious Cameron Throne is more towards stamina based. The Witch Mother's is towards magicka based, and then the Tri-Stat is more overall or all around character play. Now, again, I have shown this character in a recent video called Let's Talk. Again, I show you how to play a character kind of thing. And I show you with this character playing all three roles basically because it can without changing anything. And it's not because I'm a great player or anything. I just know this character really well because I play this character a lot. I tested it a lot. But let's continue on now to the gear sets. So looking at the gear sets for this build, we are running a monster set and a 5-piece and two 5-piece sets. One of the 5-piece sets I'm not 100% about, so I do have a tool in my inventory that can show you what you can switch to just in case. So taking a look at this, we are running Silatrix monster set. This is actually a really good monster set that is highly overlooked by a lot of people. As you can see, the 1-piece adds max stamina. The 2-piece, when you deal damage, you have a 10% chance to create an earthquake under the enemy that erupts after 1.5 seconds, dealing 6,589 physical damage to all enemies within 4 meters and stunning them for 3 seconds. The effect can occur once every 5.5 seconds. So pretty much this thing's going off non-stop. Like all the time. Every 5.5 seconds it's going off. And it's basically, I like how they did the 5.5 because it's 5.5 on the Richter scale. And it's a joke from, if you guys don't know, 5.5 on the Richter scale is a joke from a movie called Big Trouble in Little China. It's something that Jack says about his big rig, so that he drives. I get the joke. And then moving on, the next set we're using is Night Mother's Gaze. Now this is a really good set for this particular setup. As you can see, the 2-piece adds weapon critical, the 3-piece weapon damage, the 4-piece weapon critical, and then when you deal critical damage, you apply major fracture to the enemy, reducing their physical resistance by 5,280 for 6 seconds. As long as you're doing damage to something and you are applying critical hits, Major Fracture is a 100% uptime. Always with this character. Because you will be critting a lot. So it's non-stop, it just stays up. Now, the cool thing about this set is anytime that you do crit on any enemy with any ability, including AoEs, you apply Major Fracture. So moving on, the next set we are using is Sword Dancers, and this is a really unusual set. I know a lot of people don't use it, but if you look at it, the 2-piece adds weapon critical, 3-piece stamina, 4-piece weapon damage, and then the 5-piece adds 450 weapon damage to your dual-wield abilities. On our front bar, that's what we use mostly. So, as you can see, we are using dual-wield and a bow. And now let me go over the traits and the enchants we have on the gear. Starting with the monster set, chest and legs, we have Sturdy on the helm with Tri-Stat enchant. This is going to give us that ability to hybridize our character to be able to take effective use of both magic and stamina. And if we want, we can also adjust our character like I've shown with other character builds where you can play a tanky healer, damage dealer with them. Moving on, the next one we have Reinforced on the chest with a Tri-Stat again. This is to give you that ability to hybridize, and then the Reinforced is just going to make this armor the most powerful it can be, resistance-wise. Now, a lot of people will usually go Divines on everything. I like this setup because it maximizes my resistances, even though I'm not built to be a tanky character. Having that little bit of extra survivability in my character makes my character worthwhile in that area of survivability. Again, onto the legs, we have Sturdy here as well, and Sturdy basically just reduces your block cost by 4% per piece. So we have an 8% reduced block cost. And then if we're playing a tank, we can actually use Sword and Shield, use the benefits of Sword and Shield block cost reduction and everything, plus this, it works out really well. On the smaller pieces, we are using all Divines plus max stamina enchants. This is how we can maximize our stamina pool to make our character more effective with stamina abilities. Since we are using mostly stamina-based sets, it's better to focus into that. Now, not that you don't have to, but, or you have to, but it just works out. Onto the jewelry, we do have 2 Tri-Rune enchants. You will have to change these through a transmutation station. If you have the Clockwork City DLC, you can do that. If you don't, you got to use what's available. So you're going to have to go all stamina here. But if you have the Clockwork City, Tri-Rune these things because it's going to help you out with hybridization. Also, as you can see, we have 2 weapon damage here. And then on the necklace, we have Bloodthirsty with a stamina recovery. If you don't know what Bloodthirsty does, I'm going to let you know. It increases your damage against enemies under 25% health for 10% extra damage. So it's basically like when you get them below 25% health, you're going to start doing 10% more damage to them. That 10% adds up a lot based on the different abilities you use. So, alright, moving on to the weapons. Starting with the main hand, we have an infused weapon with a poison damage enchant. I'm going to go ahead and charge this up for when I do some test showing of it. And then in the offhand, we have a Nirnhoned with a absorbed stamina enchant. Now, you don't have to use this exact setup. You can use a Nirnhoned main hand with an infused offhand or a sharpened offhand, whatever you choose. It's up to you. I just find this to work best for me. And it's literally only off, and I think it was bugged on the Sork, I don't know, but it's only off by like 100 weapon damage. It's really not that much. So I like using it this way. Now moving on to the bow, we do have a bow infused with a weapon damage enchant. This is weapon and spell damage enchant. This is to maximize our ability with the bow and to maximize our ability with magic damage if we need it. So alright, now that you guys have seen that gear, let's talk a little bit about some of the other stuff. So one of the things about the Sword Dancer set that I'm not 100% on, but I do remember reading something in the patch notes that said that they don't drop anything other than what's related to dual wield. So you can only get dual wield with this on the live servers. On PTS we can get a bow, But just in case you're on the live servers and you don't get a bow, you can use the agility bow instead. And agility, what's going to happen when you have this back here is when you swap bars, watch my max stamina. That's what happens. It boosts my max stamina. The weapon damage stays the same as what it is on the other bow. The crit changes because this is a precise bow, but still, it works out to about the same in weapon damage, but instead you get the higher max stamina, which is going to help you in the greater thing, because it's going to amount roughly to almost what you get in weapon damage here for just the 4-piece. The 5-piece doesn't apply to the bow. So now I also run a axe and mace for when I'm tanking, along with the sword and shield. And then when I'm playing healer, I run sword and shield with resto staff. And that's how I run it. And I'll go and respec into those if I need to. Most of the time I don't need to, because I'm a warden. I can actually play stamina healer. And like I said in that other video I showed this build just like it is, tanking, healing, and doing damage, all in a normal dungeon by myself. And I can promise you I could even do it in veteran if I really wanted to. So, and no, that doesn't mean I'm a super god player. It just means I know the character. I know how to play it. That's it. Alright, let's continue on now to our skills. And as I do with all my videos, guys, I'm going to mention unlocking all your skills and passives. And I get asked this, what skills should I start with? In this case, since this character's focused to be more damage dealing, it would be better to focus on mostly your animal companion tree and your weapons, like dual wield and bow. Those would be the one things you want to focus on in the beginning, and then slowly start branching into Green Balance and Winter's Embrace and other weapons, and especially your armor. Always focus on your armors. So you want to do the medium, heavy, and light armor passives as you're progressing your character. And then, yeah. So that's where I'd start. Now, going over this stuff, make sure you unlock all your class passives, because you never know what you're going to use in what situations. Like in some situations, I might want to use gripping shards on my bar here so I can have greater DPS, greater CC capabilities on my character, even though I'm a damage dealer. I might even want to use frozen devices so I can pull enemies to me. And these are all things that I can choose to do. So, yeah. Let me go ahead and put this, I'm going to set this up real quick for stamina DPS, what I run when I play this, mostly stamina DPS. And that way when I show you the parse on the 2 skeletons, you guys can see for yourselves like how this thing works and go, oh, okay, that's pretty good for a stamina DPS. And then I'm going to go and reset it into what I have it set up for now, which is more of a solo type build, so I can show you what it's like to play it in a dungeon in that kind of setting. So, alright, so moving on to the weapons, since we are primary dual wield and bow, I would suggest working on those first. Unlock the passives and the active abilities, and unlock the ones that are gonna best play for you and your character. Look at the morphs, read them, make sure you see what kind of things they do. In some cases, you might find Bloodthirst better than Rapid Strikes. You might find Blood Craze better than, I forget what it's called. And then you might find Whirlwind, or the other morph of the Whirlwind, better than the Steel Tornado. So there's a lot of different options here that you can go with. Try them out. See what works better for you as a player, and then use those. But do that with the bow and dual wield. Also, one-handed sword and shield if you want to be a tank, two-handed if you want two-handed damage, and then of course restoration staff if you want to do some healing or play your character as a healer. You don't have to do this because you are a warden. Stamina wardens don't need to worry about that. They've got it built into them. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. Light armor passives, make sure you unlock the first 3 light armor passives. They do play into the build really well because of the fact of the different benefits that they offer, working with not only the class and the way it's set up, but also the race you play. Medium armor, make sure you unlock all the passives. It's very important. These are very, very important because this is a medium armor build. You want to take advantage of all the passives. The reason you don't take advantage of the last 2 on the light armor is because you're only wearing 1 piece. You can't take advantage of the 5-piece bonuses. The same thing goes with heavy armor. You're going to take the first 3. You're not going to worry about these 2 because these require you to have 5 pieces or more of heavy armor. Medium armor, only one of them requires you have 5 or more pieces, and that's agility. So you can technically take advantage of all 3 of these, even as a heavy armor character or a light armor character. Usually I don't take improved sneak unless I'm playing medium armor. Alright, world skills. You can be a werewolf with this surprisingly well. I did not want to be a werewolf. I like this character the way they are, so I left them alone. I did unlock Shattersoul. I did some parsing with it, and it works out really well on the front bar. Don't put it on the back bar. Consuming Trap also can work out really well to your advantage if you're looking for resources and you're having trouble with that. This can be something that you can use. You hit the enemies with it. Even if as long as you have an empty soul gem in your inventory, you can use this to fill it, and it'll give you 10% of your max health, magic, and stamina back when you kill the enemy. Next up, Shattersoul. If you have one of these abilities slotted, this thing, when your health drops below 20%, your soul explodes for 2,329 damage. Now, I'm not going to go over these other two. I'm just going to say to take them, because this one's going to allow you to revive once every hour without a soul gem, and this one is just going to allow you to fill empty soul gems with weapon damage abilities when you kill something. See, I didn't really go over it. I just told you what they did. All right. Next thing, Fighters Guild. I do unlock all the all the Fighters Guild abilities and passives that best suit this character for whatever role or whatever ability I might need in different situations. Same thing with Mages Guild. Same thing with Psijic Order. Passives and abilities. I also do the same with Undaunted. Undaunted you can only unlock by completing dungeons or doing the daily delves or daily dungeon stuff from the Undaunted quest givers in your local major cities. But these skills are all synergies. So these all play within group dynamics really well. So next up, we have Assault skills. These are Cyrodiil PvP skills. You have to do Battlegrounds or Cyrodiil PvP to unlock them, and it takes a while to unlock them, so don't rush it. Take your time. Experience PvP, see if it's something you like. I do Battlegrounds because it's just easier. And then what I usually do is I only unlock to where I have these skills unlocked. I don't even worry about the passives. And then the same thing here. I worry about these skills and this one passive in the beginning. That's it. Racials. Redguard. Redguard is surprisingly well for this setup. One, you do get enhanced experience with one-handed sword and shield, and you get increased duration from eaten foods by 15 minutes. So even if I wanted to use blue food for this, I can, because I'm going to be able to make it last 35 minutes longer than 1 hour. So an hour and 35 minutes versus its usual 1 hour. And that's because I have a passive from my crafting that allows my food to last 20 minutes longer. Next up, we have Marshal Training. This one reduces the cost of weapon abilities by 8%. This includes weapon abilities and ultimates. On our front bar, we use a lot of weapon abilities and a weapon ultimate. So, really good for us. Now, the next part reduces the effectiveness of snares applied to you by 15%. Because we are wearing one piece of light armor, the Grace passive also reduces the effectiveness of snares applied to you by 4%. With the two, you have a 19%, almost 20% reduced snare effectiveness applied to you. It's almost the equivalent of wearing 5 pieces of light armor. So it's really beneficial to you. Next up, we have Conditioning, which increases your max stamina by 2,000. Then we have Adrenaline Rush. When you deal direct damage, you restore 950 stamina. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. This works if you're using a magical weapon or a stamina weapon or anything that deals direct damage. You will get 950 stamina back. So if you're playing a magic character and you need to dodge roll, block, throw a heavy attack or a light attack, because you're going to get 950 stamina back from that light attack. So that's mainly what I use it for, is for that purpose. And of course when I'm playing stamina based character, but I'm just explaining it to you. Moving on to the crafting passives. Medicinal use in alchemy is really good. When using a potion, resulting effects last 30% longer. And then provisioning, gourmand, and connoisseur. Both of these are going to add 20 minutes to any food and drink you consume. So, like if I use the food I have equipped, Dubious Cameron Throne, and I eat it, this is going to last 2 hours and 35 minutes. And just to show that, well, 2 hours and 19 minutes for some reason. It's supposed to be 2 hours and 35 minutes because the well, it's a drink. Never mind. Sorry, my bad. My bad. Let's do that again. This food. Sorry, this food. Now you'll see. 2 hours and 35 minutes on the tri-stat food. So I don't have to effectively turn it on as often. But I use Dubious Cameron Throne for when I'm doing stamina DPS. Now moving on to the skills we have on our bar. Now remember, this is set up for stamina DPS. I am going to do 2 parses, one on a small skeleton, one on a big one. And I'm going to show you the DPS this thing can push with this build. So starting with the first skill line, we have Blood Craze. This is a really handy ability because it does damage up front, and then it does 12,700 damage over 10 seconds. And you also heal for 1,300 every 2 seconds. Now that's pretty decent. Next we have Rapid Strikes. This does a decent amount of damage on the initial hit, and then it stacks damage as it does more hits. Now I don't remember exactly how many times this hits, but we'll go see real quick. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. It hits 4 times according to that right there, as you guys saw. It did 4 hits, and each hit increased in damage. The final hit does 300% more damage, so that final hit can hit pretty high. Next up, we have Subterranean Assault. This is just here for the damage, guys. The major fracture that it does is nice on ranged enemies, but you're going to already apply major fracture to anything you hit anyways, because you're wearing a set that does that. Next up, we have Deadly Cloak, and this is really good to apply major fracture. What it does is it gives you major evasion for 15 seconds, reducing damage from area attacks by 25%, and then every 3 seconds, a shrapnel pulse will deal X amount of damage to all enemies within 5 meters. That X amount of damage on any of those enemies in 5 meters, as long as you hit all 5 and it crits, they all got fracture on them. Next up, we have Steel Tornado. This is just a spammable that if you want to use it, you can. This is a spammable. This is a spammable. That's why we have them here. AoE spammable, single target. So this is what I'll spam on trash. This is what I'll spam when I'm fighting single target. And you guys will see what I mean when I get in the dungeon in a little bit. Next up, we have our ultimate, which is Thrive in Chaos. And this is an AoE. That's it. It does an AoE. It does a lot of damage in a circle around you, and it has a 9-meter radius reach out from you. Next, we have Thriving Chaos. This is a really decent ability. It does 25,805 physical damage over 8 seconds, and it heals you for 55% of the damage done. Each enemy hit increases your damage done by 5% for the duration, up to a maximum of 30% more damage done. So if I hit somebody, and I hit a pack of, say, 5 enemies lined up pretty good, and I get all 5 of them hit with this, I'm going to get 30% or 25% more damage increase on them. And it's going to boost all the damage I do to them by 25%. So that 25,805 increases by 25% over 8 seconds. It's a really nice ability. And then we get 450 weapon damage on top of it. Swapping bars on the bow bar, we do have Rearming Trap. Everyone should know this one by now. Set a shrapnel blade trap in the location, which takes 1.5 seconds to arm, lasts 1 minute. When triggering, the trap deals X amount of damage, and an additional X amount of damage over 6 seconds, immobilizing the enemy for 6 seconds, and grants you minor force, increasing your critical damage done. That lasts 6 seconds. Now, after being triggered, the trap will reset and re-trigger itself a second time. That's why it's called Rearming Trap. But it lasts for 12 seconds, basically. You get the critical damage increase. Moving on to the next ability, we have Poison Injection. This one, shoot a coated arrow of Bandari poison at an enemy, dealing X amount of damage and an additional X amount of damage over 10 seconds. This damage over time deals up to 260% more damage to enemies under 50% health. Next, we have Endless Hail. Launch a multitude of arrows into the sky to rain down, dealing X amount of damage to enemies in the target area every 0.5 seconds for 10 seconds. Then we have Razor Caltrops. Hurl an exploding ball of Caltrops that scatter over the target area, dealing X amount of damage every 1 second and reducing movement speed by 30%. When the ball of Caltrops initially explodes, it deals an immediate X amount of physical damage. Next ability we have is Bull Edge. This is basically a resource management one, but it also boosts our spell and weapon damage. Now I want you to look at this. So when I do this, if you look at my front bar, I go up to 19, 28, 311. Oops, let me just go ahead and hit this guy. Now on the front bar, I go to 27, 21, and 2470. Now that's because I have my character set up to get more damage out of it for that purpose. Okay? Because if I need more magicka, I can just do this. And I can get more magicka out of my character. And then I can just go back to using this. And still, it's not a lot of magicka, but it's a little bit more than what I had, and it can make my magic abilities do a little bit more damage, if necessary. If I really want to go for magicka damage, it's better to build into magicka. That means respecking my attribute points. Alright, next ability we have on our bar, besides this, giving us the Major Brutality, Major Sorcery, is Flawless Dawnbreaker. We do not use this ability at all for damage. We just use it for the slotted effect, which is 5% weapon damage. If you do want to use it for damage, it does do X amount of damage to enemies in front of you in a cone in a 10-meter reach. So if I dropped it right about here, I could reach that enemy right there with the Dawnbreaker. And then it will do X amount of damage over 6 seconds. Alright, now that you guys have seen the skills, let's go ahead and jump over to the CP. And this is a CP setup I like to use for this build all the time. And now you don't have to play this way. You can choose how you want to set your CP up. This is just how I use it for this character. So starting with the red tree, we have 56 in Ironclad, 20 into medium armor focus, and the 56 in Ironclad reduces our damage taken from direct damage attacks by 20%. We have 20 into medium armor focus, increasing our physical resistance by 1900, 18 into spell shield, increasing our spell resistance by 1729. And then moving on over here, we have 31 into thick skin, and reducing your damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%, 43 into hardy, reducing your damage taken from physical poison, disease damage by 10%, and then 43 into elemental defender, reducing your damage taken from flame, frost, shock, and magic damage by 10%. Moving on over here, we have 40 into bastion. This increases the effectiveness of damage shields by 16%. This is in case I need to use bone shield. And 19 into quick recovery, just giving us a little bit more healing received. Moving on, we have 40 into warlord. This reduces our break free costs by 16%. Remember, break free, sprinting, bashing, roll dodging, and blocking all take stamina. So reducing those costs is really good. 16 into sprinter reduces your sprint cost by 10%. 16 into bashing focus reduces your bash cost by 10%. Over here, we have 75 into mooncalf. This increases stam recovery by 14%. 43 into tenacity, increasing your mags and magicka and stamina. Your fully charged heavy attacks restored by 10%. And then moving on over here, we have 40 into tumbling, reducing dodge roll cost by 16%. We actually have a 36% reduced dodge roll cost, by the way. It's really nice. And then we have 40 into Shadow Ward, reducing your block cost by 16%. Because we do use a sturdy shield when we tank, that sturdy shield in this, that's a 20% added to the 36. We have a 56, and then add the 8%, or 16% in total. And we actually go to like 60-something% reduced block cost. It's pretty crazy. Moving on over here, we have 43 into Bless. This is to increase our healing done by 10%. Over here, we have 35 in the Physical Weapon Expert. This increases your damage done with light, heavy attacks with two-handed, one-handed, dual-wield, and bow by 20%, and werewolf form. Also, 40 into Mastered Arms. This increases your damage done with direct damage attacks by 16%. And then moving on over here, we have 56 into Mighty, increasing your physical poison disease damage by 12%. 56 into Precise Strikes, increasing your critical damage and critical healing with stamina abilities by 20%, and then 40 into Thaumaturge, increasing your damage done with damage over time effects by 16%. Now, one of the things that I do want to mention real quick is when I did the video here recently, today, showing this character playing through a dungeon in normal mode, I didn't change my CP at all. I didn't change my stats at all. I just changed my skills and equipment, my gear, basically my weapons, and that was it. and I played it as a tank, a healer, and a damage dealer. It's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and see what this thing could do damage-wise. In a Parse, we're going to go ahead and do this, and then we're going to use our wonderful power pot. And we're just going to unleash on this sucker. Oh, come on. Lag, guys, lag. I got lag. 25k DPS. That's not too bad. I can usually pull about 32 on it. And just so you guys can see, I have 3721 weapon damage with 52% critical, 80% critical damage, and an 8857 physical penetration. This is just by myself. So, and that's because I have the Crusher, or Major Fracture, and the other thing applied all the time. So, it's quite nice. Now, I'm going to show this thing on this guy, because this guy's going to give me a bunch of buffs that are going to make me represented to more or less playing in a really organized, well set up group. So first we're going to do our potion. Same thing, we're just going to run the rotation. And we're almost up to 35k. I've gotten it up to 40 before, guys. It's just, I'm not that good. I'm getting better. I am getting better. And it didn't do the injection or caltrops. Alright, so there you guys go. 35k roughly. Damage per second. I need to let this thing run its course. I'm going to go ahead and grab that so I have the resources, and I'm going to let it run out, and then I'm going to show you guys in here on the Parse so you guys can see it. So here's the Parse on that one. I had 4,371 weapon damage with a 58.9 weapon critical, 80% critical damage. This is just going to show me having 100% penetration. If you go just mouse over it, because that's what it's going to represent, physical penetration damage, 100%, because it doesn't calculate all that stuff. It just shows the what I have for the Lover Mudstone. That's it. Now you can see, like, I had 13,000 on my max on rapid strikes, 4,000 here. My light attacks were doing 12,000. This was doing 10,000. My Subterranean Assault hit for 35, 28 here. Light attacks again. Was doing a certain amount. The one that really gets me is this. This is my Thrive in Chaos, and this is what it was doing over time. So this is what it would do on its max damage, and this is what it was doing on its average damage, and that was against a single target. So really good. Now before I take this into a dungeon, I do need to set up for more solo friendly play, because if I don't, I will die. I'm just not that good of a player, so I'm gonna set this up to be more solo friendly. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this over to where Rapid Strikes is, because I'm going to use that as my spammable instead of the other thing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the Undaunted Bone Shield. We're going to get rid of Sub Assault. And then I'm going to move over here to Echoing Vigor and put it right here. That's all I'm going to do to make this character more solo friendly. I'm going to wait the remainder of this 12 seconds. I'm going to grab a quick drink. And I'm going to go ahead and head on over to the dungeon. And of course, you guys know what dungeon I'm going to. Depths of Malatar. It's my favorite one to do testing in right now. For some reason, I really like this dungeon. I love to torture myself with it. But yeah, it's a really fun dungeon. If you haven't played Depths of Malatar, and yes, as you can see, I'm actually going in on normal mode. I'm not going to do it on veteran. I can already show you guys that I can do it on veteran. I've already done that several times. I'm just going to show you on normal mode so I can get up to the boss, and that way you guys can see what this thing is against, like against the trash and then against the boss. And I'm going to do this solo. So, as a solo player, a lot different than when you're playing in a group. So, yeah. Let me go ahead and also, I'm going to go ahead and use Tri-Stat Food, but I'm going to still use the Power Pots. The reason I'm using the Tri-Stat Food is so that way I can take advantage of the Magicka pool I have, so I don't run out of Magicka for using like this. Oops, I also did a big mistake. A big boo-boo. I'm gonna have to fix it after this. Oh my gosh. Big mistake. And it is a big mistake for me because I have massive resource management problems. So I need my little bug. Alright, now we're gonna move on. Oops, I did that one too many times, but that's okay. There. That guy's dead. Now we're going to go in here and we're going to go hang out with the big old boss head. And this, I'm actually going to switch back to Dubious. And I'm going to switch this back to my potions. And we're going to go over here real quick and we're going to... What do I need to do? Oh, okay. I need my single target ability because I'm only going to be fighting one enemy. So, yeah, I want to take advantage of that stuff. Oh no, guys, I'm dying. Come on, flip onto me, sucker. And I'm doing this with the damage dealer character. I am soloing this because I know how to play this way really well because I play this way a lot. Anyway, so Driving Chaos. Alright, now I'm gonna go find him and I'm gonna let him kill me. Because I can sit here and solo this guy. It's pretty sad. But it is a lot of fun. If you want something challenging, try doing this on solo in normal mode with this build. It's really challenging. It's also a lot of fun, and it is what it is. Okay, it's fun, it's exciting, and it does prepare you because it teaches you how to be more responsive with your character. So, in tight situations even. So, it's really nice. But that's pretty much it for this character build, guys. This is the Dervish Warden character, or the Dervish character, and it is a all-around character. You can do what you want with it. And yeah, it can't even play healer. I'm not going to be showing those in a build video, though. I'm not going to be showing those roles, tank, healer, damage dealer kind of stuff. I'm just going to show you this as a character build. Here pretty soon, I'm actually going to be doing away with the tank, healer, and damage dealer role section in my channel, and I'm just going to do character builds, and I'm going to be doing guides that show you how to set the different characters up, possibly with the different roles, and that's it. So, I hope that helps more, so we'll see. But that's it for the video. You guys know what's coming next. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game. Bye.